My void will consume you, if you ask nicely.
Your will is no longer your own.
Stay away from them. To arms!
You have led the Horde to a place without honor.
Your petty quarrels only make me stronger.
Our world needs us, champion.
You got me over your head.
We cannot let the world fall to darkness.
Already lost.
Put your faith in the light, and all is possible.
Is it truly righteousness that drives you? I wonder.
It would seem you have guessed.
They are coming for you. This is the Whispers of War.
Hello everyone and welcome to Whispers of War, show number 85, 15 to go for 100. I'm your host Sil, and let's jump into how was my week in World of Warcraft. I'm still leveling the baby paladin. We are almost ready for Outland. I think I'm going to go Outland. I don't know why. I just feel like going Outland this time. So I'm not going to rough the Lich King content. Not this time around. But yeah, I'm really enjoying Paladin still. I've only been playing Retribution. I know that I can jump into dungeons as a tank because I've tanked on the Pally before, and it's not, you know, I mean the first dungeons are not that difficult anymore. But I don't know if I want to go tanking at all ever, so maybe I should just keep on with Retribution. But still doing that. And the big news was that our guild downed Nuzov again. So this is our second time in the guild on Heroic. So they are now starting Mythic, which is really good. In all fairness, our guild does all three modes to level up alts and to see where new players are at before they can come along with Heroic. And then, you know, the Mythic team is trying their hand at Mythic. So yeah, they're all doing really well, and I was so happy to be carried that I got the mount and I got the achievement. So I now have ahead of the curve, and for me now the expansion is done. I can just focus on leveling my alts and doing that. Yeah, really enjoying myself. But I have to admit that most of my time is spent in Animal Crossing, especially since I had a hiccup with the internet this week. This is a very boring thing about providers, but I think my router was dying, and we are with BT, so we have a special BT hub, and I think I've had that thing now for 5 years or something, and I'm sure it fell several times during moving and all those things, and yeah, my internet was crapping out, so I had disconnects. So we had to reset it constantly and restart, and it was just starting to get really annoying. So we took the plunge to upgrade a little bit, and you know, went into support with BT, and basically the router needed to be replaced. So we also upgraded, and we got a really good system now, which also has a little Wi-Fi receiver upstairs for the home, which is not bad. Because I did have some reception issues with downstairs. I don't know if it's just, I don't know, BT crap reception, or if it's just because the walls are quite thick or something. I don't know. I'm not technical when it comes to shit like that. Anyhow, I now have better internet, finally. It took a little bit, but I have better internet, I hope, touch wood. I think it's still leveling itself out with speed. They promised that it would even be faster than what I had, and that was not really a big upgrade or a difficult thing to do, because it was quite bad. It was really bad. It was really good to begin with, and then it just started to crap out. So we shall see. We shall see if this internet proves to be good. But anyhow, that drove me basically into the arms of my Nintendo Switch again. And I've been playing Animal Crossing a lot. So, yeah, that's really it. I think the only correlation there with World of Warcraft is that I called my island Kalimdor. and that's it. But that's my little update on Animal Crossing, which I totally love. And yeah, World of Warcraft, just leveling alts. That's what I'm doing now, and I really, want to get the baby paladin up. I'm hoping that I can put her in an alt raid to Nyalofa and maybe some 0 mythic pluses, just because I want to see if this is the class that I might want to focus on in the alpha or not. And in all fairness, I have not really played in the alpha yet, because I'm not quite sure what I want to do in it, and I feel like I should try out the classes a little bit just to see which one would appeal to me the most, because who knows, all of a sudden it might be a class I've never expected, like I did with Rogue. But yeah, I feel like I need to go in there with a plan and not just run around aimlessly, and because I don't really want to spoil it for myself with the story, and that's why I don't want to go in and just play, if that makes sense. I want to go in with a specific goal. Now, Thorghast might actually be a good idea, just to see. I have no intention of being high on any. I don't think I'll get far, but just to see what it's like to play certain classes and certain specs. That's the word I was looking for. But I think with Thorghast you can only do certain classes at the moment. So, well, okay, that's something I could try out. I guess that's something. And I want to try the new starter island just to see what it's all about. But I think from what I've seen, because I already went into it a little bit with a baby paladin, it actually looks quite nice. I quite like the intro. If I was a new player, that would be quite cool to see. So yeah, I think they're doing a great job. I'll just want to know when Alpha comes out. Other than that, I also pre-ordered the new book for World of Warcraft, which comes out in July, I think it is. Is it the 4th of July? That's what I remember, because it was Independence Day, wasn't it? So I'm hoping that Amazon will deliver it on the day, not too late, because I would like to start in the morning reading and then just finish it in one go. And yeah, just pottering along. I guess it's one of those. It's the lull period, isn't it? So it's all a little bit just tying up loose ends, and that's really it. Yeah, so that's all I've been doing. It's not very spectacular, except for the heroic N'Zoth kill and getting ahead of the curve, and my pretty new mount, which I am very pleased with. Yeah, very happy with that. So something else I was really, really happy with was the interview I had with Soul. So I will leave you with that now, and I hope you enjoy it. And then I'll come back to you afterwards, after the interview, with the question of the week. And yeah, we'll talk about what you are doing in game right now. So I'll see you on the flip side. And with me today, I'm being joined by another very familiar voice that you might recognize from the interwebs. Welcome, Soul.
Hi, this is my real voice. No, hi. I thought I'd kick it off. The way that you came off like that, it's like a familiar voice, huh? I gotta challenge that like right away. I'm gonna make this the most difficult thing for you and me, like ever. You're gonna edit the crap out of this thing. Watch.
In all fairness, everyone who knows me, I don't edit. So, it's in there now for life.
So if I say certain phrases and stuff and it doesn't get edited out, I'm going to be in big trouble.
They know where to find you now. So, All right. Well, for those who don't know you, Soul, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself and what you do on the internet?
Oh boy. So the safe for work things that I do on the internet. So I am a WoW YouTube person, and I do Twitch stuff too. And I do a lot of stuff. So I mostly cover like news and commentary. I give opinions, and I guess the main focus on that is that I try to take, that certain segment of WoW, like criticism and feedback, because usually it's like super hyper negative and all that. And I tried to look at it from a bit more of a balanced view, like, oh, here's maybe why the developers are doing this, or let me give my perspective as a more casual player as to why this is happening, or if anything, hey, you know what, this does really suck, but let me give some feedback other than just trashing the game and telling people, oh, Ian needs to get his head needs to get put on a stick and stuff like that. But apart from that, like on Twitch, it's mostly me hanging out with the viewers and me just kind of doing my chores. You know, it's like, okay, this is what I'm actually doing in WoW, but I just happen to be doing it on stream, and so here's me lazily being a streamer. But apart from that, as for my actual playtime, I have been a guild master of my guild. We're an AOTC guild. We're a heroic kind of guild, and I've been doing that for about 10 years. The guild itself is like 12 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, which is like 50 years old almost.
In WoW years.
In WoW years. It's like, whoa, those really existed? Like, are you guys like super mythic something? Heck no. We're just we're just a house. We're a home for wayward players who are like, hey, you know, I just want to chill and have a place to come to away from the troubles of real life, and I don't want to feel pressured to do stuff. And that's what I'm for. I'm the guild dictator, and you know, you just do as I say, and somehow we kill heroic bosses, get some loots with hopefully a little drama, and then we go on with our merry little lives. And that's a little bit about me.
It's not bad to have a guild concept like that, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's being part of this guild. It's made me like separate from many of the troubles of WoW that I've observed over the years, especially as a content creator. When I really started to hear about people and these sorts of problems, like I'll go back to my guild and be like, do we have this problem? And we're all like loot drama and stuff like that. No. Pugging? No, we don't pug. Like for me, like the pug world doesn't exist. It's like I'm either playing with the guild or I'm not playing. So for me, it almost feels like I'm only playing with such a small subset of the player base, but I'm also very happy with the people that I play with. So it's like, am I playing the game wrong? And you know, sometimes I struggle with that when having conversations with people about, you know, what's best for the World of Warcraft.
Yeah, I can imagine that, because there is a lot of negativity. I think people are quicker to talk about all the negative stuff that's going on in the game that they're not happy with, whether it be a guild or anything that they've created, as the Blizz team sometimes does with expansions, as we've discovered. Then that people only focus on the positive things or really praise that. So yeah, it's really nice hearing that.
Yeah, it's easy to bitch about stuff, you know, whenever we got something to say, whenever we got problems, of course we want to validate those problems by pulling people in. But if you're happy with the game, you tend to not really talk about it because you're a little bit too busy just being happy and playing stuff. I'm not going to be like, or at least it's very rare where I'll be like, oh, I had this great experience, I'm going to share it with the world, I am going to make this 6-minute long video essay of how this thing is great. You know, that's usually not what people do. They won't break things like that down, like unless they're paid to. That's where I'll typically be like called like a shill or something like that, because I'm saying something that isn't even necessarily like positive or you know, overly positive, but just something that is not negative. I feel like people have, you know, kind of push the bar or change the scale to where, like, if you're not totally like taking a dump on the game, then you're just kissing Blizzard's ass or something like that. And you know, that bothers me just a little bit, but you know, all I want to do is just honestly share the thoughts that I have and feelings and feedback.
Yeah, and I think that's fair enough, because I think there's a lot of people, you know, if there are viewers or listeners who want to listen to ranting, then there are YouTubers and streamers and podcasters out there who do that. If you don't, because I know that there's a very big group, as we like to call them, Team Positive, and they just want to hear either neutral comments or just positive comments, then, you know, there needs to be a supply for that as well. So, no, I think it's perfectly great that there are people like you and, as I always say, Taliesin and Nevitel and Hazel, who are just positive but still, you know, critical about certain things. Why not?
What are you talking about? They take a dump on the game all the time. Jeez, they're just like the worst. Ugh. I'm so much better now. Wow. Okay, I should. Okay, I'm taking it way too far now. They're great. They're great. Let's totally walk it back. They're great. All right.
Well, talking about YouTube, what started it for you? Why did you think, okay, this is what I want to do now? Because looking at your videos, there's a lot of editing involved and a lot of things that you do with voiceovers and stuff like that. So, what made you want to do that?
Well, I think the trigger mechanism that really set it off was once upon a time I was at work. Real good soul. I was at work. I was watching YouTube videos. My job is not to watch YouTube videos at the time, by the way. And this is during the days of Warlords of Draenor. And I happened to chance upon a pair of videos. I totally forgot what the topic was now. It had something to do with the garrison, but I saw a pair of videos, one from Bellular, another one from Asmongold. They're, you know, you might have heard of them. They're okay. And they were just dogging on the game, and they were using certain terms and phrases that sort of like bothered me, because it was like they were trying to, they were coming off in a way, and I'm talking about the way they were speaking at that time. These days, I find them to be a lot more even-handed with their criticisms, or they're just much better at expressing them. But back then, it felt like their criticisms were just like ranty and loud and obnoxious. I'm like, you know what? Someone's got to do better than that. Yeah, I can do that. Easy. I told myself, right? Yeah, I can do this stuff. Yeah, no problem. So I decided, well, you know, let's go ahead and start sharing my thoughts on forums and Reddit, because they're great places to find like-minded individuals who have a positive message to spread, right? No, absolutely not. And so instead of throwing all this wasted typing out into the void, I thought I would waste my voice and my face out on YouTube instead. So that's when I started creating videos and talking about things that Blizzard has done, or not even so much positive things, but just like things, and talking about, you know, my feelings and how I feel about this from my perspective, not trying to capture or reel in other people's perspectives, but just my own. So yeah, like Asmongold and Verilard, like I have them to thank for me getting started, because if anything, it's not like, you know, I said it like jokingly, but they inspired me to want to contribute an additional voice out there. Now, of course, there's so many people that have said so many things, and come off and give like great messages, positive messages, critical messages, and I guess I wanted to become a part of that. It's just that the struggle over the years, or at least maybe I've gotten into a better stride these days, but especially when I first got started, I was like, what do I want to do? How do I want to like share? And so I was just all over the place. I'm like, okay, let's do guides, let's talk about lore, let's make this weird voice, you know, and and I'm still kind of like exploring and trying to not just share the word of WoW, but go on this personal, like this whole thing has very much been a personal journey for myself, and discovering like what kind of person do I want to be when I grow up someday. Someday I might be an adult, and I'm still going down that journey now.
Okay, what has been the biggest challenge so far, you reckon?
The biggest challenge for me has been, you know, what's funny is that just before this call, I was talking with my mom, because it's her birthday today. Happy birthday, Mom.
Oh, happy birthday.
And of course, yesterday was Mother's Day, and I did not call her during Mother's Day because I figured, I'll call her today, whatever.
Ooh, big mistake.
I'm such a great son. And so we were talking, we're all trying to hold up and, over here in the United States and try to keep ourselves positive and stuff. And so she was like, so what about your work? Because so my son, I feel ashamed sometimes. And I'm like, that's cool, Mom. Thanks. I know that you just don't, or she would be like, oh, so do you have a job yet? I'm like, Mom, I've had a job. You just don't like what I do. She's like, no, it's not that. I'm just a little ashamed. I'm like, oh, okay, a little ashamed. So part of it is the validation. So there's a little bit of that. And then of course, like my biggest thing is I got to prove to myself that this is something that I can do, because it's so hard to break into this space, especially as someone who doesn't want to just yell and scream or pander to negativity. And I'm not the type that wants to market exclusively to kids either. I don't want to be that sort of YouTuber. I want to be the kind of person that just shares my thoughts, and whoever I get is who I get. It's like, hey, that's cool. So it's and for me, I do my best to not let the sort of juvenile negativity get to me. But like any content creator would say, like if you dive into that long enough, it does start to bother you. It does get to you, and there needs to be ways for us to deal with it. And so I try to, I read everything. I read all the crappy comments, and it's like, oh, why do you still bother doing stuff, man? Or go get a job and blah blah blah. And it does get hard. And I think, but I think the biggest challenge actually is to not just look at, it isn't just when I look at that negativity, it's when I see those really successful people. And I see how easy it looks, even though I know it's not. It's definitely not easy. As you get better, you just probably pump out more numbers. But I look at that and I think, oh, I'm not there yet. I really want to get there. So I do my very best to like not look at the numbers. I try not to look at the business side of things as much. Like I'll do it every now and then to, just be like, okay, I'm uploading, right? Like I'm actually getting stuff out there, right? But it like sometimes viewers will send me images on Discord. It's like, dude, you have like 30,000 subs. I'll be like, what? I haven't looked at this since like 20,000. I haven't looked at this in like months. Holy cow, what's going on? So I try not to look at it, because I look at it and because before I did, I would look at it and be like, oh, cool, it went up like 10 subs, great. And then I'll look like maybe a day or two later, I'll be like, whoa, it went down. Holy cow, I lost everything. So it gets, YouTubers are really sensitive, and if they tell you that they're not, then they're lying. It's really hard to stay positive in this sort of space where it's just you. You're like the one person show, and every day is a little bit of a struggle, because you're not quite sure whether the efforts that you're putting into these videos, which could take like anywhere between days, hours, days, weeks to complete, and you put it out, then it's like, oh no, it didn't take off at all because some sort of circumstance. So that's something that I got to deal with like all the time.
Yeah, I can imagine that is really, really difficult, because I think this is actually something that me and my network talked about when we do our monthly call up with each other, just to see how everyone is doing. But we talked about how it is somewhat of a numbers game, even though you don't want it. You're still producing something, and you're very vulnerable to actually share that with everyone out there. And because it's a part of you that you're sharing with everyone, and everyone wants to, I think it's only human that you want to be liked and that people are enjoying your content. So I think people have the tendency then to overanalyze, like, oh, why are the numbers down? Why is this episode? Why are people not watching this video as much as they do with that one, or what did I do wrong? And I don't think that there is anything that people are doing wrong. It's just how, circumstances, I guess, for certain things. But it's so surprising hearing that from you, because like when I just look at me, I'm not a big time podcaster at all. At least that's not how I see myself. And then I have someone like you that I'm like, oh my god, it's Soul, someone who is really big, and then to hear that coming from someone like you is in a way very surprising, but it's also very, not per se nice, but it's in a way good to know that also the big content creators like yourself are struggling with the same things that all of us smaller people out there are trying to create. So in a way, I think it's good to hear that we aren't alone with that, and that everyone has it. And I'm sure that like the top dogs out there have that even more, probably, because I think that the bigger you are, the more pressure you get on yourself as well.
I'm not really getting emotional, but just even getting someone to say, hey, yeah, you're one of those like big ones. I think back to those couple years ago when I was first getting started, and I had like a big old head, and I was like, oh yeah, I can do this shit. It's hella easy. No, it's not. And this many years later, and I feel like I'm still struggling. So hearing that's like crack, dude. That's what we feed. We so feed off of that sort of positive energy and encouragement. Like if someone were to be like, hey, I want to be like I want to donate to the channel. Hey, that's great. And at the same time, it's like someone will swing by and say, hey, I've seen your stuff. It's great. Oh man, I get that same high. It's crazy. We just feed off of that stuff. But it's something that I've definitely learned is that in this whole process of avoiding the numbers and ignoring the numbers, it's more like that feeling. Like if I'm done with the video and I'm looking at it, I gotta ask myself, I ask myself, is this gonna pull in the numbers? I don't ask myself that. I ask myself, do I feel good about this? Did this make me like chuckle or like snort like, okay, yeah, that's kind of funny? Did it do that for me? And if it did, okay, great. Then I know that I put out something good that I would like. And from there, it's a matter of, okay, is this at least going to be like seen by people who will feel the same way as I do? But yeah, trying to capture like and hope that I make that next viral thing with the memes or whatever. I don't know memes. I don't know how to meme at all. Like, I'll tell you this right now. Before we started this cast, people at home and on the toilet, like we were talking about like clickbait and stuff. I don't know clickbait. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. I'm terrible at that sort of stuff. And so now it's just like, I'm just going to put out like honest thoughts, couple jokes every now and then whenever I feel confident enough to put out a joke, and and just let it rip. And then when I'm done with it, it goes out. I'm going to work on the next thing, because making this stuff is hella fun. It's just so much fun to do. And I'm lucky that I'm getting any money out of this stuff at all. It's just such a great time, and I feel really fortunate that there are positive folks such as you, Sil, that and others who have been keeping me up and keeping me encouraged.
No, I think that's great to hear, and I think you are so spot on with the whole, as long as you are happy with what you've put out there, then that's the most important thing. So no, I think that's a really good message. But just so you know.
And I should add this one real quick in case my mom does listen to this. When we did talk about this, she did acknowledge. She's like, Soul, I know you're having fun. All right, and I'm gonna leave that there, because the rest of what she said was kind of negative, but she did say that, and I appreciate that, Mom. Thanks.
Well, at least you get that one, and also just to give you another shot at crack. Like I said, when I said to my guild that I was interviewing you, a lot of people were super enthusiastic. So, just so you know, people in Europe know of you.
Oh man. because I looked at the numbers like the other week. It didn't seem like it did. So I'm good. Tell you that, yeah, shoot. What's up, guys? I feel like I made it now. Oh man.
Nah, you'll be fine once the show goes up and I put it, and and I spam my guild Discord with it. I'm sure that they will all go like, "Oh my god, I need to like subscribe and everything." So it's fine.
Oh, I'm
you got
sweating.
this.
This is good. This is good. This is the best interview ever. Oh my goodness.
It's because it's European. That's why. Just
Yeah,
saying.
I'll take it. I'll take it. No complaints.
Right, let's go to your World of Warcraft career. This is something that listeners always want to know: a Horde or Alliance?
A Horde is like the short answer, but
And the longer?
well, there's an origin story behind it. Like there always is, right? Like everyone's got their origin story. So, like once upon a time, okay, not that far. Once upon a time, but yeah, okay. Warcraft 3, yeah, Warcraft 3. I'll go with that. I played it a lot with a buddy of mine, and we didn't play like online stuff. We only played against each other because he would always like beat my ass in. I'm like, okay, I'm never gonna play online with the ladder stuff and all that, so I'll only play with him. So we played together, and the race that I played as the most was Undead. Because, okay, cool, I got a cool build order, I got my Death Knight, I got my Lich, I got my Dreadlord, I got my Ghoul things, and the Necromancers that can raise little units from the dead. I got this. So I had a lot of fun playing as that particular race. So when World of Warcraft came around, my buddy was like, hey, you gonna play it? I'm like, I guess it's freaking MMOs, whatever, man. Because I tried MMOs, like I tried EverQuest for like I think half an hour until I decided it was garbage. So there goes a couple of potential subscribers. Sorry, guys, but he was like, okay, go ahead and give it a try. I'm like, okay, fine. But I got into beta anyway, and so when I started, of course, the character selection screen, like right up there, is like choose your faction. I was like, okay, which faction am I going to choose? I just kind of cycled through, and then I saw, I'm like, oop, Undead, boom, and I didn't even look at what faction I was. I'm going to be Undead, cool, Undead are dope. And he was like, you suck because I'm going to be Night Elf. I'm like, well, Night Elves suck. they're poop. And so inadvertently, I chose Horde, he chose Alliance, and when I made that character on the beta, like I was like, whoa, so this is what an MMORPG is supposed to be like, because it felt amazing. I was like, oh, I'm doing things, and I chose a warlock, so I have a pet, and the pet's like throwing things, and it's doing damage, and I turned into quest, and I was like, I got a weapon, oh my god, because I was used to playing like other little MMORPGs where you don't get anything. You just grind, and maybe you get something after like 45 hours of gameplay. Whereas here, it was almost transactional. It's like, do stuff, get things. Do stuff, get things. And then it was just this constant loop of do stuff, get things. But yeah, rewind just a little bit. I chose Horde without even knowing it, but I'm glad that I made that choice. So I'm loyal now.
Okay. Does that mean you've never really like dabbled anymore since BFA with Alliance?
Not in BFA, unfortunately. That's actually that's like a project that I want to explore because, well, that's like half the game, dude. That's like heck a story that I'd be missing out on. So I did play, back in the vanilla days, I did play through Alliance stuff. Like I made like a little Gnome Warlock because I don't know why. I don't know why, guys. I made a Gnome Warlock. But I did have fun with it, and I made like a Night Elf Hunter and other such things, so I can experience some more of like the racial storylines and explore a lot of those zones where the Horde didn't really get to experience a lot of those stories. So I got to get more exposure, and I want to take that sort of curiosity and feeling to the other faction when I eventually get to, when I eventually want to play through BFA stuff because, well, I'm at home. What else am I going to do? It's going to be like a million years until Shadowlands comes out, so I might as well explore the other side.
Yeah, very true, very true. And like you said, the story. It's nice to get both sides of the story, really, to see how that was for Alliance players. Okay, So we have established you're a Horde player. So what is your main nowadays?
My main for the past 10 something years or so has been a protection paladin. Not a paladin, not a sometimes ret, sometimes holy paladin. It's been a protection paladin like through and through. So,
Nice.
yeah. I don't know. It's like the other classes are great, and I level all the alts. I have all the alts right now, or they're all at 120. They're all fairly geared. They've all done horrific visions because I'm a big slut over that stuff. But through and through, like my comfort level and just my enjoyment comes from, taking on the avatar of this of this blonde-haired, green-eyed protection paladin person, and yeah, that's just my jam.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so what was the point for you that you started playing World of Warcraft and all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm going to now play this game for 15 years?
I don't think that feeling has really come yet. Well, it's a game, right? This is in all essence, this is a video game, and the video game can get shut down, or a dope ass game might come out someday that'll just suck up all my time. So I always want to have an open mind on that. However, WoW has definitely changed my life for sure. So whether it's love or not, I'm stuck with it. But like I think it was a good number of years ago when I was just I think I was working at a Best Buy at the time, and we're talking about promotions and we're talking about schedules and stuff. And in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, I'm looking at the boss. He's giving me like the offer and telling me about the new job, and I'm like, but my raid schedule, dude. I don't know if I want to take this job. And so that's when I decided, okay, I think that's going to be that. I think that's the point where I'm like, okay, this game is interfering with my life. It's a part of my life now. So I think that's an important milestone to consider. And then later on, a number of years later, when I decided, you know what, forget this whole retail stuff, I want to try something new. I think it was thanks to World of Warcraft that I got interested in getting into the gaming industry. So I dove in there for a number of years, starting as a QA tester, where I test out the video games and see if they're cool. And then I became a QA lead, where I lead those little testers, and I decide and I tell people like Blizzard, no, your game can't come out, haha, unless you may not pass, that sort of thing. So Warcraft definitely has had a big influence in my life. But yeah, I guess after a couple of years, it just kind of crept in. It didn't really, it didn't really come as like this, this whoa kind of moment. It was more like, haha, I've been here all this time, sucker. Now you're stuck with me. I'm like, oh, okay.
That's it now. Now you're committed. You can't back out of it anymore.
Yeah, it's like what the forum people say. It's sunk cost fallacy. I just got to see it through to its end now. So you're right, MMO champion. You are right.
Okay, so let's jump back into the whole classic scene. So classic was released, I believe it was last year. It sounds so weird saying that. Were you one of those people who thought, I can't wait to jump back into classic and enjoy, and I use the term enjoy quite loosely here, playing like it was in classic? Or were you like, nah, I don't have time for that anymore?
About 50 years ago, during BlizzCon 2018, I believe. About 50 years ago, when they announced, I guess I don't know what year it was now. It's I've been stuck in this house for so long. When they announced Classic WoW, right before they announced Battle for Azeroth and everything, I was at BlizzCon that year, and the place erupted. It was the second loudest bit of cheering that I've ever heard, and after that was when BFA, when the cinematic came out, like the place just blew up, because we were on such a WoW high. But anyway, but yeah, when the classic WoW cinematic finished, everyone's cheering, yada yada yada, and I look at my guild mates and my wife. I'm like, yup, I ain't gonna play that shit, dude. and it's not because it sucks, guys. It's not because it sucks. It's not because it's not great. It's not because I think I do, but I don't, or anything like that. It's because I played it before. That's really the long and short of it. Like I did my time, and I had a great time. But I'm not the type to be that. I'm not that kind of nostalgia sort of guy where I want to relive the experience. I don't want to rewrite that. You know, I got what I got, and it wasn't perfect by any means. But I was like, you know, I'm gonna go ahead and give this one a pass. But that said, I did give it a shot when it did come out, because I mean, everyone's playing it. I might as well be one of those sheep that give it a shot too. So I made another warlock.
Okay.
I made another warlock. I got to level 20, and by the time I got to level 20, I was like, this is way too familiar. It does not feel like 15 years ago, because I kind of had an idea of what I was going to do and what I needed to do and how I was going to do it. So do I really want to go through that process again? Because I wasn't going to go through that whole wow phase, that whole discovery phase again. I did that already. I played like almost every class to 60 back then, or close to 60, not 60, but you know, I played most of the classes, tried them all out, passed judgment and so on and so forth. And yeah, I did it already. But for everyone else who's enjoying it and has been enjoying it and is going to enjoy it later, that's great. I love that the overall Warcraft audience is continuing to grow. And based on like those announcements from last week and that quarterly thing, like there's more people playing WoW than there has been in recent memory, and that's great. You know, no matter what you're playing, you know, just celebrate WoW. Celebrate Warcraft, and I'm cool with that.
Okay, very good. Right, let's go to current content. So, BFA, what would you say is your current obsession to do in the game? I think you said it already, but...
So, I think I'm the only nut job that has decided, hey, you know what would be great? Let's do horrific visions on every freaking character in the game. So... I only just completed the project of completing 5 chest runs of Orgrimmar and Stormwind off every class. So
wow.
So earlier I had said, and I meant it, that I main a protection paladin. I don't know jack squat about any of the other classes other than the buttons that do damage and which way to go to like get levels and then get them to max level, and that's all I did. I only really leveled alts just to have them available, like just in case. But just in case has never really happened until now, until horrific visions happened. I was like, okay, this is it. Let's do this. And of course, all these leveling boosts that have been made available have been fantastic. Korak's Revenge was great. The current 100% XP boost right now, that's also great. So I don't know what it was that made me like want to do it. I guess it was like what Horrific Visions offered was like a solo experience that with all these 8.3 changes, it was extremely accessible. Like it doesn't take a whole lot of work at all to get the necessary gear at minimum to complete these visions. Unlike something like the Mage Tower, where at the time when it came out, that was the patch 7.2 or so, it's like, okay, I could do this for not for gear, but for some really awesome cosmetic rewards, but I needed to grind legendaries for it, and that sucked. That fear of having to grind legendaries just like killed any momentum. And then later on, as 7.3 came out and we got like a whole new tier of gear to replace, and it became much more easier to get, I didn't feel incentivized to do it, apart from maybe going for the cosmetics, but that wasn't enough. Like I felt like this isn't going to be much of a personal challenge for me because now this content is old. So that was kind of what was going through my head at the time. But then here it's like, okay, this is the last tier of content. I can just use the systems that are given to me, try to grind my face off and get through it. And so once I started, I just became obsessed with it. I was like, okay, let's do this. I'm going to work on all these damn characters at once because this is fun. And I was going through this brand new journey. It felt like I was playing a different game for the most part. I mean, sure, wow. I'm only playing 2 maps, and yeah, I'm playing through these 2 zones over and over and over again. But when it came to hopping onto each of these different characters that I didn't have a damn clue how to play, like for people who saw me on stream doing this, they were all cringing. They were like, "Oh my god, Soul, Cap Totem. And I'd be like, oh my god, that's right, F is Cap Totem. No, F is this other button. Oh my god, and then now I die, and it was just this terrible feeling. I'm like, oh, there goes my key. Oh man, there goes like a day's worth of work. And but all throughout this whole thing, I was just having such a blast because I was like, okay, I'm learning about these abilities. Whoa, this class can do this. This is amazing. Like it's crazy that coming from someone who leads raids and stuff and has to tell all these people what to do and how to do all this stuff with their classes, actually being there and you're actually doing it on your own, it was eye-opening. I was like, wow, these classes are pretty darn amazing. And the biggest one, gosh, I can't stop gushing over her visions, but the biggest surprise was a rogue. And I would joke about rogues. I've joked about rogues for years. I'm like, rogues, stupid class. And the rogue that I had, his name was Decloaked because I would never stealth with him. I'm like, rogues are dumb. I'm not even going to stealth. I'm just going to stab these guys in the face. I would fight him like a leather warrior, and it'd be a terrible experience, but that's what he deserved because he was just a rogue. That's how I looked at him at the time. And so when I'm playing through Horrific Visions as this thing, people would say, oh, do combat because I'm sorry. God, I keep doing that. Play Outlaw. Play Outlaw because Outlaw is good. I'm like, all right, fine. Wow, Outlaw sucks. I'm gonna try something else. And so I tried Assassination. I'm like, oh great, I got a stealth now. So I'm stealthing and doing stuff and I'm stabbing things, and it felt really good. I was really surprised. I'm like, I'm putting on these poisons, I'm shanking these dudes, their HP is dipping so fast. So this is what it's like to be a DPS class. This is amazing. So And I repeated that feeling again and again with each and every class. So I'm really thankful for Horrific Visions because it opened me up to explore and try out all these different classes because I would have, thanks to like Echoes of Ny'alotha, and I can buy all these things and I could get access to all the cool things that these classes can do very quickly. It was great. It was such a great experience for me, and I would do it again. Okay, maybe I'd do it again. That's a really long process, but I did have a whole lot of fun doing it.
That's really good to hear. Well, we can talk about that a little bit with Shadowlands, because what are your feelings and thoughts when it comes to Shadowlands? It was announced last year. Alpha is happening now. What are your feelings about this latest expansion that's coming up?
Oh boy, so many feels. I was not surprised, but I feel for players who are disappointed that there was no new class. I think that I think bucking tradition in this case I don't think it was a mistake. Because I wouldn't want to see Blizzard. Okay, we got to force something out, guys. So, squat hard and clench deep because we gotta poop something out. I don't want them to do that. Kind of like the same way that they didn't want to have a third spec for Demon Hunters. It's like, okay, we can make up some sort of Fel caster class. But then it'd be like, okay, great, Blizzard. What more are you going to take away from Warlocks? Sheesh, for them to have no class this time around, it's it's kind of a bummer. But it also opens up some new possibilities. Like these days, we're going into the Shadowlands. We're going to experience this new vision of like how death works, and so it'd be really cool if later on maybe we'll see a new class that's based on the Shadowlands and based on these covenants, and maybe we'll have something not exactly like a necromancer, but more like a master of death who has the power of the covenants and yada yada yada. There's all sorts of headcanon we can make up for making up a new class. Another small disappointment that's for sure for me is a small disappointment is that they didn't they kept the talent system in place. I'm not fond of the talent system. I don't like talent rows. I don't think that talent trees are like the answer either. I think there's got to be something new, and talent rows have been around for a really long time. They've been around since Nixon. They've been around for a really long time, and I do think that there ought to be a big change, because that's something that Ian has kept preaching on. It's like, oh, okay, we're going to modernize the game. We're going to kind of future-proof it and make sure that we create systems that last forever and ever and ever. And we see some reflections of that. We're seeing the squish. We're seeing this new leveling system, which has a lot of potential for it. But I think the talent system is something that maybe I'm okay with them not working on it this time around, because they're working on like the unpruning and some other things. But I would predict that this is the last expansion that we'll see the talent system as it is. I think we're going to see like a big change there. But Shadowlands in general, I'm really stoked about it. It's like a new world. Literally, we're seeing like a brand new universe. We're getting more lore about how things work in the Warcraft universe, and I think that's something that is not visited very much, which is okay. But I think it's high time that we explored and kind of flattened out. Okay, what does happen when we die? Is the Shadowlands like really like this system that's like heaven or hell or whatever, or was it manufactured? Is it always been there? What does it all mean, and and all that? And after exploring the alpha for however long it's been that it's been public, I'm just more and more excited each build. I always look forward to feeling like, oh, what's new? What are the new shiny things we get to look at? And what's going on with these covenant abilities? What are soul binds? There's just so many unknowns that come from this whole beta process. On top of what's coming new in this expansion, that's like right now I have like this big stupid grin on my face, because I'm like, oh, it's only 2 days left until a new build. We know what's gonna go. So I'm just stoked. I'm really stoked to see what we have in store for like all these new systems.
Okay, how do you feel about no player housing?
It's fucked up. That grin that I just talked about? Yeah, that went away real quick when you brought reality crashing down on me. In all fairness,
my girl set me up to it. They said, oh, you should ask him about that.
You should ask him about player housing. I'm butthurt about it. But at the same time, because we all figured, okay, Shadowlands is coming. Part of me wanted to hope that Blizzard would introduce systems outside of its storyline for the sake of just introducing it. It's like, okay, yeah, we're going to the Shadowlands, but hey, here's a house. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense there, but it would have been nice anyway. But that's why I always hope. I've been hoping since Warlords. Since Warlords of Legion or something. I'm like, I hope the next expansion, man, I hope it's like a beach adventure or something like that on some island, and we have like a totally separate adventure. No old gods, no titans, no Sylvanas, no death, no factions. It's just like this brand new thing, and we'd like build a house and be like so cool. I would love to see like a more grounded adventure like that. But yeah, player housing, it's just something that I would love for them to just like throw in at some point. They can do it at any time. Like just to retcon the whole thing. Sure. Just make it like we always had a house. Give it to us at level 10 after Exile's Reach, and then just let us like have at it and support it like until the damn servers shut down. And that will make 50 million subscribers come in. I am absolutely confident about that. Not really, but it'd be an awesome thing to have.
I think a lot of people want that, in all fairness, and I think after Garrisons, I think everyone constantly is a bit disappointed that it's not in-game. So, yeah, here's hoping that we might get surprised. Okay, one thing I wanted to ask you still about Shadowlands is, you said that you are really enjoying your horrific visions with all the different classes. Is that going to be something that you'll be repeating in Torghast?
Hell yeah, absolutely. So... I got a plan and everything. But yeah, I do plan on doing it because once again, the whole idea of horrific visions and that whole experience, it opened my eyes to seeing just how big the world of Warcraft can get. As you know, as a player, as someone who wants to now be a bit more of a completionist, but it's not like I want to be I want to be like a top mythic raider on every class, or I want to be a super dope ass gladiator on every class. I don't want to do that. I want the journey to be my own, and it's going to be my personal challenge. So being able to reasonably climb Torghast on every class and have that be its game mode, where my alts will just go through that whole loop of, okay, let's go to Torghast, and then we'll do stuff in the maw because that apparently is supposed to loop with Torghast, and then I'll just progress through there. And then, like, the goal for my alts will be to climb and climb and climb and see if there is fun to be had there. You know, similar to how Horrific Visions went. Now, of course, we don't know everything about how Torghast is going to work, like if it's going to be as goal oriented. But I think that the idea that I have in mind would be, I want to complete a legendary set, a legendary armor set for all of the armor types. So maybe I won't work every single class, but I do want to at least climb it a number of times to complete that set, because that stuff looks dope. It looked really good. So I'll definitely be doing Torghast with at least 4 or 5 characters.
Okay, that's very ambitious, but
yep.
That's still. I think it's nice to have a plan already where you're going. That's better than, you know, running out of stuff to do, I guess. For a lot of people who are at that point now, unfortunately. With the Covenants, which is another very big part of Shadowlands, at least that's what it feels like to me. Which Covenant are you picking for your Paladin?
I have not decided.
Oh, okay.
At least that's what I'm telling myself. I am. I'm telling myself, Kyrian. No, don't do the Kyrian. Get the Kyrian. No, I don't want to do it yet. So it's tough because the Kyrians were just so attractive. Like during BlizzCon, when we first got to test them out, I was like, okay, what does this Kyrian thing do for my guy, for my Paladin? And so it said it'll throw divine shields at every target within 30 yards. I was like, holy smokes, done, decided. And so I've spent the last couple months trying to go away from that a little bit. I mean, these days, that particular ability, instead of every enemy, it's now capped to 5, which is a little unfortunate, but I'm still cool with that. I'm still willing to, I still find that ability to be very, very attractive. But I want to hold on, because a Covenant, as I'm experiencing it in the alpha, is so much more than just the ability. It's more than just the armor set. It's everything. You know, it's those things. It's the feeling of standing in the middle of your Covenant sanctum and imagining, like, it's supposed to be like your order hall, right? So you're gonna see other people running around, checking themselves out, doing things, whatever it is that you do in your Covenant sanctum, and it's like, okay, do I want to be there? You know, do I want my character? Does it feel right to sit in that particular area? Or like when it comes to soulbinds, which we know very little about, unfortunately, are these going to do things to my signature Covenant ability? Are they going to do things to my class ability? And that alone is going to, like, upend all of our opinions on these things. Because right now, like, for example, my Covenant ability for the Kyrian, I call it Fan of Shields. I actually just forgot what the actual ability is called. It's called Fan of Shields. Right now it hits up to 5 targets, but if I'm only fighting 1 target, then it's just 1 target. So it's like having Avenger Shield on a 1-minute cooldown, and that really sucks. So the idea is, if soulbinds are going to manipulate that ability to make it do something cool if it happens to hit only 1 target, then my opinion is going to probably be, okay, well, I'm going to plant my feet even deeper into the Kyrian Covenant and to heck with everyone else, because Fan of Shields is dope. So it's tough. I keep telling myself I haven't decided, but of course I did say that I was going to make 5 characters because me being a sadist, I am going to make a second paladin, a second protection paladin. That is on that, just like my other characters, they're only going to climb Torghast, and that's it. My main, of course, I'm going to do like some dungeons maybe, and like raids and some PvP and all that other stuff. So I'll freewheel it with him. But then the others, it's going to be like, again, another experiment, another personal journey.
Okay, so with these other alts, do you feel like, okay, I'm picking the Covenants then on aesthetics, or some people pick them on, you hear a lot of druids, oh yeah, I go Arden World because that's where the class fantasy is strongest, or will you really look at the talents for them?
That's going to be the really tough one, because I think of the different covenants and I think, okay, that would be a cool covenant for like this class. I mean, obviously my Death Knight is going to go Arden Wield. He's going to be a Night Fae because of irony, right? He's going to be the odd man out, and I love doing that. Like my main, he's going to be carrying he's probably going to be carrying not just because of that whole Fan of Shields thing, but because I just want to be like a shirtless, blonde-haired dude with wings on his back, and be like, yeah, that's why, that's it. But yeah, as for the other classes, of course, I want to find out like the rest of what each covenant is about, and then I want to find like a nice pairing for each of those classes. So I haven't even decided which classes I'm going to mostly focus on, or if I'm going to just end up like branching out or what. I mean, for all I know, I might be like, okay, you know what, freaking Necrolords are like the easiest one to work with. They have the best whatever it is, and I'm going to have like 6 or 7 different classes, and all of them are Necrolords just because I'm like, I'll choose the default, whatever, it's not a big deal, right? But it's going to be a really tough process for me to until I make that. I might not make that choice until like the very last second.
I think you and very many others will have that same choice. Okay, so let's say that you start afresh in Shadowlands, and they've changed the whole leveling system, as I believe. You start from scratch on the island if you so want to. You're about level 10, and then you can start picking your expansion where you want to level, because that's the glorious thing about or Shadowlands. You can then actually go an entire expansion to level in, and not just, oh yeah, I'm in Pandaria now for 5 quests. Oh, now I'm going to Draenor. It's a little bit better now to stick with one expansion. Do you pick an expansion that you just want to go to, or are you like, no, okay, I'm leveling a Death Knight now, so I just want to stay in Wrath content, or what would you pick it on?
I kind of decided that when I do decide to make characters, because I have alts for I have like max level alts of like everybody right now, but I'm probably going to do it just for fun. I want to re-level through Burning Crusade, as well as Draenor, because it's been a while. Yeah, it's just been a while, because these days, or I mean, heck, even during Draenor, you trivialize the leveling tremendously by just picking up extra. People would do not exactly an exploit, but they would pull some tricks where they would use XP potions and rest experience and heirlooms and other such things. You fly around, you complete all these bonus objectives, and then ta-da, you're done, without having experienced like any of the story, seeing any of those cool cinematics from like the end of the Shadow Moon Valley zone or the Frostfire Ridge zone. Like they had some really good questing and some really good story, and that was just a lot of fun. As for Burning Crusade, it's a little bit of nostalgia there, because it's the last kind of leveling expansion area that wasn't like defiled after the Cataclysm. Like that's like old school vanilla-ish style leveling, where you just kind of get lost in these areas and you hope for the best and you're just like knocking stuff out. And it's just been a long time. Like I'm thinking about it right now, and I'm thinking, oh right, Rexxar is somewhere in Spire, whatever the heck that place is. And I don't remember that place at all. All I remember is like there's birds and there's Rexar and ogres and something and yeah, I don't remember jack about that place. So going through there one more time, that'll be a treat. And otherwise, when I was leveling alts, I would go through like a bunch of those other zones. Like I already went through Wrath a number of times and Panda Land, or at least I went through Valley of the Four Winds a little bit, and then I moved on to another expansion. Woohoo! But yeah, there's so much of BC that I haven't seen, and Draenor was a treat. I would like to play through like those again.
And it's quite cool that you can actually then compare the two of them, because it's technically the same area.
That's right. I didn't even think about that. Now I'm going to get called out. Oh, Soul is such a Draenor fan. Why don't you just stay there and live there, huh? Yeah.
In all fairness, just to back your case, I am actually doing some of the leveling because, I'm insane and I have 50 characters now. So I do find Waters of Draenor better now that I can fly, and it's just taking the time for it. It's just so, I don't know, it's nice actually to do all those quests again and see it all, and I think it's just at least a bit of a bad taste just because Siege of Orgrimmar, was it Siege of Orgrimmar? No,
Siege was after Pandaland.
That was after Pandaland.
Yeah, or that was the end of Pandaland. Yeah.
It was just, everything after Tanaan just was endless, and there was a very long lull, and I think a lot of people got bored with the same thing. And yeah, I think Waters of Draenor doesn't deserve the hate it always gets, but it's the same with Cataclysm. A lot of people hate Cataclysm, and I'm like, yeah, but it was a big expansion with 2 new races, and the entire old world got changed. I guess you can't always please everyone.
Yeah. I mean, my big thing about Draenor wasn't with leveling. Like I said, the leveling was great. It was the end game it was the immediate end game, like between that and getting into raids. That was the that doesn't give me a good feeling, because I remember very distinctly when I first played through, I was like, all right, dudes, let's do this. I got my garrison kind of up. It's starting to really come together. Let's do some dungeons. Let's do some heroics. Oh boy, the gear from heroics really sucks. Okay, let's farm Apexis crystals so I can get those upgrade things so I can get into raids. Oh boy, this mission table gives me better gear than what this Apexis crystal stuff gives me. This stuff sucks. So like immediately after getting to max level, I graduated from normal dungeons and heroic dungeons. Like there was nothing for me but raids, and that really sucked because there was no incentive to go outside. So I mean, that part sucked, but the leveling felt cool. It felt cool. There was a lot going on. There's some really good story, and so I'm gonna have a good time on that part of things because that's all it demands of me.
Okay. Right, let's start with, I guess it's a little bit about faction pride and all of that as a Horde player. But how do you feel about the factions now that there is sort of, I call it a stalemate really, but let's call it peace.
Well, I'm glad the Horde won. Yep. You heard it here. Not everyone's brave enough to tell the truth, but I'm willing to talk about it. I was always indifferent about the whole faction conflict. Remember, I chose undead because I chose undead because they were undead, not because they were Horde. But I'm very indifferent to the whole thing, and BFA is a controversial expansion, but one thing that I demonstrably didn't like about it is that it involved this whole faction war thing, because it was polarizing for players, and I'm not too fond of a theme that really pits players against each other outside of the game. I mean, it's one thing to be like, okay, let's argue the lore and who wins this and who gets that, even though the Horde wins everything. But the whole idea of keeping score, we had a lot of that going on in BFA, where it's like, oh, well, this faction leader got like their butt kicked. Yeah, well, this faction leader freaking died. Well, this faction has like the better tier gear. Oh yeah, but the weapons look so much. It was so much of that. And it was, man, that stuff was like super exhausting. So the faction war that happened outside of game, it was a little bit tiring, and I'm glad that we've gotten away from that. And to be frank, I would love it if if our characters, our champions of Azeroth, could just separate themselves from the faction conflict, like rise above it. Like, it doesn't have to end. Horde and Alliance can beat their faces in until they're blue and red, because factions, whatever. But the players themselves, I would just love it if we weren't so interconnected with them all the time. Like, definitely not in a BFA level, but it's like, okay, if there's like some sort of faction storyline where it's like, okay, you and your race, your faction needs to do something. Okay, fine, then I do this special faction quest. But otherwise, I would be cool if the faction lines were just dissolved at this point. Not so much that anyone is at peace, but just that we champion people can decide, can just focus on what we've been focusing on, the big bad, the neutral threat. Like in Legion, we weren't really Horde and Alliance except for that one zone, Stormheim. It was more like we were part of the armies of Legionfall. We're part of, those sorts of factions. And that's what predominantly handles like these big threats. The Argent Crusade, the Knights of the Ebon Blade, the whatever the heck neutral thing that you can think of. That's what we end up becoming in order to take on that greater threat. And then once that's done, it's like, okay, let's beat each other's faces in because red versus blue. I just want that to, for the most part, stop. Except for people who want to be in war mode, then go ahead. Go ahead and do your thing.
Yeah, I always keep saying it would be such a surprise if, we all roll with our covenants and then it's like, so the covenant you picked, well, you're at war with all the other covenants now, so this is your faction and enjoy it.
Yeah, I would be like, I don't know, man, because it's one to split us in half, and then you're going to split us in 4 ways. So hearing so many conversations and pushback about, no, we should have a third factions, and that will balance out the factions, they say. I'm like, I think you're hella wrong about that, but yeah.
It will be interesting to see what they do with that, because there's been a lot of speculation regarding the whole faction divide.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all of us have had our theories. I've shared mine numerous times, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens after Shadowlands. For all we know, like, we might return from the Shadowlands victorious and with tons of loot, and then all of a sudden we find out that there was some sort of political marriage between the Horde and Alliance leaders. I'm like, wow, Anduin paired up with with Lillian Voss. Holy cow! I didn't see that one coming. But now we're all at peace. Go us.
And now we're all thinking about it.
And now you're all going to think about it.
Okay, well,
Anduin.
We shall see. It would be really interesting if that would actually happen.
I'm stuck on it now. Oh, Lillian. Oh, Anduin. Yep.
I think Lillian probably has a lower voice even than Anduin, doesn't she?
Well, I think she has something like this. She's got that super raspy voice, if I recall that correctly. I guess that's what Anduin likes, man.
He might. He's already been pairing with Raffian, so who knows? Okay. Let's go to a little bit outside of Warcraft, but not really. So, what has the Warcraft community meant to you personally?
Ooh. So I'm a weird one because I didn't really start interacting with the community until I started content creation. Because for the most part, like, I live in a bubble with my guild. I hear about Titan forging and things like that, and I feel really bad when someone gets gear and I don't. And I'm like, well, but then it's my guild. We don't have these kinds of problems. So it was an eye-opener when I would engage with these sorts of people. And I would get, and I rightfully got a lot of pushback when I would say, well, it's not a problem in my guild. Maybe it's you. And that doesn't come up very well, as I've learned. So the community has been absolutely essential with me like learning just what more there is to the World of Warcraft outside of my guild microcosm. And it also made me appreciate my guild so much more, because it's like, wow, these people have it really rough. Like the pug world feels like this super toxic and impossible raging river that you need to have so much fortitude and tenacity to traverse. And by the time you really get used to it, it's like you're this jaded person. And I'm like, wow, is this what it is? And I'd like to think no. And I'm going to presume that no, that's not how it is for most people. But I hear so many of these awful stories about it that it gives me that kind of bad feeling. And so that's why I try to preach so much. It's like, hey, you know what, do your best to find a guild or try to build your own community. And I know that's really hard. And I know that I'm lucky. I am just lucky that the people on my team have stuck around for a decade. God, that's nuts. See, that we've that so many of us have stuck together over these years through like colleges and marriages and passings and so many other things. So, but the community has also been super awesome. Getting to know that there are like-minded people who think similarly, or even would challenge my own thoughts and change my mind on certain things and make me more sympathetic to certain parts of the game that otherwise I would think, no, the game shouldn't be like this. But you know what? Maybe, I think I get it. I think I can get why this and this sucks, or this and this needs to improve. So it's been a real treat being able to interact with these sorts of folks.
That's really good. And I think, I think people without a nice guild are having it quite rough with pugging, because I think everyone who's in a good guild jokes a little bit like, yeah, pug, no, we're not doing LFR, let's not. So yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good that people are still finding great guilds and great communities to be part of, and especially as a content creator. I mean, you're like bang right in the middle of the community as well. So it's always interesting to see different points of views on that. Let's go to a little bit of a less serious question. Soul, what is your favorite in-game food?
That is such a serious question. Dude, oh my god. Okay, so, there's this one thing in Mists of Pandaria where you can throw down a noodle cart. And you throw down a noodle cart and you become a vendor. And that's the feast. So people would click on you and they would buy this food. That was the feast. Like they would buy this food, and as the vendor, you could press buttons and you could throw out fireworks and you could do cooking animations, and it was dope. That's the best food, not because of what the food does. I forgot what it did. I think it was just a feast or something, but it was just the fact that you had to work so hard to level up your cooking. And I think you had to do like some mini games where you played something that was the equivalent of Cooking Mama or Cooking Papa or something like that.
Okay.
You had to play this mini game in order to get the recipe to make this noodle cart, and it was the best. It was a bit like whenever I would pop it, people would go, oh, noodles, and people would just like come running over, and they would just click on the thing and buy the food, and yeah, that's the best. It's the most RP food in WoW.
That's so amazing. I had no idea. This is because I didn't fucking raid back then, but in all fairness, that is so cool.
I forgot the name, Pandaren something treasure cart or something like that. It's the best.
That is so cool. Why don't we have something like that again?
Because the WoW devs are so lazy and something MMO champion Bobby Kotick. But yeah, it was the best. I would love for them to bring that back. Bring back some extra food or something like that. I'll straight up pay shot money, Bobby Kotick. Put that thing in game, and I will buy it for no more than $5. But yeah, I will totally buy that.
That is really freaking amazing. I love that. I had no idea. That's so cool. I love that. The inner Asian in me is just screaming now, like in delight, just hearing that. So I'm really happy hearing that there's something like that out there.
Yep, get it now.
Okay, well, we've actually now stumbled upon the last question of the show, which is the weird question, as I always say, which is, what is your whisper? And if you're new here, a whisper is basically anything. So a whisper could be, a wish that you'd have for the game, something that you might want to see returning into the game, like maybe certain game mechanics, or something that you want to be removed, or a bit of theory crafting about the story. So, Soul, what is your whisper?
Player housing.
I could have guessed.
I would love player housing, Blizzard. Do it. Yeah, it's like the thing. It's the farmable, spammable, no lifey kind of thing that I think that WoW needs, that would provide like that sort of that certain fulfillment, the ability to express our collections and the things that we've done and our accomplishments in game in a whole crib style. Hey bros, check out my shit, come on in, and then take a look at like all my fancy mounts and cars and treasures and trophies and other such things, and here's how to do it. I would work for Blizzard, design player housing, and then quit if that meant how to get player housing into the game, because I'm a believer. I'm a believer in my own religion that this is the thing that will that will put WoW in a much more positive direction when it comes to just having that sort of longevity and having a long-tailed system that persists, because, well, at the end of this expansion, the corruption, that's gonna kind of pretty much go away. Azerite stuff, those effects are probably more than likely not going to follow us much further. So what are we left with? We're left with our collections, the achievements that we've done, the pets that we've collected, the mounts that we're sitting on, and of course the memories. But what better way to express those memories with a big ass house that's flying in space. But yeah, as for other little whispers, I might as well just give my little wish list out here now. Blizzard, I would love to have a two-handed shield as a paladin. That'd be awesome. I just want to smash my enemy with a two-handed shield, or dual wield shields. I think that'd be like the greatest thing. Just imagine Captain America with two shields. That would be freaking unstoppable. And everything else doesn't matter nearly as much. Yeah, just a bunch of shields, and a house to throw it from, and I'll scare all those kids away from my lawn. Yep.
I think with two shields, yes, you will.
Yeah, the one-hander I probably couldn't throw it very far, but two, oh yeah, easily.
Okay, well, that's something to think about. I do like that idea, and player housing. That's something. We're going to keep our fingers crossed for that. Just as hard, probably, as you.
Amen.
All right. Well, Saul, thank you so much for the interview. It was absolutely a blast having you on the show.
This is hella fun. Oh, man. This is a real treat. Thank you for having me.
No, the pleasure was all mine. Where can people find you if they want to, see and hear more about you?
Everywhere. But you can find me if you want to seek me out. You can get me over at youtube.com/SoulSoBreezy or twitter.com/SoulSoBreezy. What else do I do? Oh yeah, Twitch. Yeah, that's right. I do streams too over at twitch.com/SoulSoBreezy. And I also have a Discord channel that anyone is free to join, and I don't know what the address is because that's a lot of like weird letters and stuff to mark out, so I should have a link somewhere out there. But yeah, you can join me there too, just to like hang out and every now and then chat or make a request or whatever.
Sounds good. And I'm sure that lots of people will love to join your Discord as well. So thank you again for being such an amazing guest.
This has been a real treat. I had a ton of fun, so thank you for having me.
You're more than welcome. So I hope you enjoyed that interview with Soul. It was really great talking to him. And I'm hoping that, he wants to return once Shadowlands is hit. And we've been playing it for a little while just to get his view on everything. And I think we should go to Twitter. So on Twitter, you can follow me at whispers_of_war, where I post a question of the week. I'm just going to read out 2 answers that we got on the question from last week, which was, what is your biggest achievement in game? And Grand Naga said, I think that might be healing Nax 40 in vanilla on my priest. And I can tell you that, yeah, Nax 40 in vanilla was no joke. That is very hard. That was not funny. And then the lovely Aurelia said, I would say getting the long forgotten hippogriff mount. I failed so many times in Legion, but got it a few months ago during a night of insomnia. I know insomnia is not a great thing, but wow, that's I guess it has its benefits with that. And especially, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because you have to get all those crystals, and if someone else gets it before you, that's it then. You've done all that work for nothing. But yeah, well done. Okay, so let's go to this week's question, which was, what are you currently doing in game? What's your current obsession? So Kyber76 said, my obsession is alting, and just as you say in a lot of your podcasts, I find myself complaining about it a lot because there is not enough time to accomplish everything I want to do on them. I can relate to a lot of your alt struggles, and it's definitely an obsession. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I want to level them all and get that heritage gear done, and then maybe, I don't know, gear them all up, but that is not a tiny thing. It's a lot of work, and I don't know if I've set myself up for failure, but we shall see. So I wish you just as much luck. Tarly said, playing classic in my downtime. It's a really nice change of pace. That is not a bad idea, but I already have so much stuff to do, so if I run out of things, then that will definitely be one of those things that I'll be doing. Jordan said, continuing mythic progression with my guild and gearing my alts slowly. That's really, that's working in of its own with doing mythic progression. Reina said, playing catch up for me. I'm just diving into BFA content, so that's what I've been doing. You have a lot of stuff to do then, which is great. You have so many things that you could dive into when it comes to BFA, so have fun. Honors Hammer said, leveling my Zandy Pally, I like that, Zandy Pally, and Dino Druid, trying to figure out which one I want to play in Shadowlands. I'm doing everything I can to avoid BFA content right now. Okay, fair enough. Scarlet Highlord, Red Pally Jill, said, I have my main, period. I'm getting her geared, getting her achievements. Fair enough. I think that's fair enough. I have so much respect for people who just have one main and that's it. The Me for Not said, Altaholic, gearing alts to give me and my friends options for Mythic Plus dungeons and wondering which I'll run as my main in Shadowlands. I'm a Death Knight at heart, but we are melee heavy, so we'll have to see. That's always a difficult one, isn't it? Maybe getting a new main. Good luck with that. Good luck. I'm sure that whatever you pick will be a class that you love again, because otherwise you shouldn't really be playing it. Annex said, need to get the achievement for 5 masks, but staking corruption resistance like a bitch. Tired of having to choose between good gear or dying. Yeah, I feel your... Well, I don't feel your pain because I don't do it anymore. But I've heard many guildies complain about it. Scrubs vs. the World said, I'm on a quest for 1 million gold. It's not a massive goal, but I've never done gold making before, so I may move that goal even higher if I figure it out. Hey, if you move it even higher, you might be able to get that long boy mount. You never know. Ali said, in the live game, it's heroic raid progression and mounts. Well done with the mounts. I know that, Ali does so much with Dungeon Fables as it is, so doing this as well, That's a lot of stuff she's doing. King Long said, farming mounts has been my go-to lately, and of course leveling the fuck out of all of my alts. I think we all are. Gitty said, leveling some alts, although it's a bit obsolete, as I think that it'll be easier and more fun when Shadowlands arrives. Also doing transmog mounts runs and some old content for mounts and transmogs, especially Draenor, as I zoned out around that time. I think we all permanently zoned out about that time, but yeah, it's now that I'm back, because some of my alts are like 100 and I put them into Draenor. I actually quite like questing there again. It's really bizarre, but I'm enjoying it. Elisabella said, my current obsession is trying my hand at the crossbreeding of flowers. I've also discovered making signs, and I'm obsessed with fencing around my fruit trees. Oh, I love Animal Crossing. Nook is most certainly a crook, though. Yeah, I have to agree. So this is Animal Crossing. I have to agree that Raccoon or Tanuki is bleeding me dry out of my money. I want to say my bells. That's really it, isn't it? But yeah, that's one of those things. So okay, I wish we had crossbreeding of flowers or something in World of Warcraft. That would be cool. I just want something more based on Animal Crossing. So I want to like design my house and make furniture and all that stuff. That's what I want. Frasley said, leveling alts and lore master. I've been running visions with at white polar bear mount up to rank 13. Ooh, nice. Ivy Waiter said, none, just running around on my alts trying to figure out what I did and didn't do. Professor Talib said, we have leveled our Volperas to 120 and are working to gear them up. Not sure why, as I'm sure we will get the new stuff before the expansion, but we are enjoying it, so why not? And I think that's a very, very valid reason, you know, as long as you're enjoying it. Cheryl said, Mythic Plus, a normal rating, and not sitting in my combined working gaming chair much more than that. I think we all feel that pain. Spanky Hunter, working on the bucket list of things I'm assuming will be removed in pre-patch. My guess is we have 20 weeks left, so not much time. 20 weeks? That's still... Well, I don't want to think of it as, like, there's not a lot of time. I feel like... Oh my god. That might not be a lot of time. Oh, I have to reevaluate all my things now. Spanky Hunter said, e.g. running a 3 mask Horrific Visions each day and 4 mask on reset day to get the memento mount. Already bought the transmog backpack and I have about 10 days left to finish. That takes a lot of time at the moment, I can imagine. But yeah, 20 weeks. Wow. Okay. I need to let that sink in a little bit. So that's it for this week's question of the week. I will post up a new one for show 86. So join me on Twitter to keep an eye on that. And that's the show for this week. I you know, it's been a bit of a slow week for me, but hopefully now with better internet connection, I will be able to get that all done. Oh, and for those who are very, very clever with technological stuff, I've been having some issues with Discord, so maybe you guys can, you know, I could Google it, and I have, but, you know, I prefer my fellow Warcraft players. So Discord sometimes says that it can't connect to the voice channels, and it gives me a routing error or something like that. Now, I have Googled, and it seems that the only thing that works for that one server is to change the server region and then change it back. So instead of EU, we do, or I did American, and then I went back to, I think it was the West Coast, and then I went back to European, or my guildie did it, and for some reason that worked. But that's a bit of a pain to keep doing that. So is there a way that we can make it not do that? So it's just, you know, allowing this, or is this an issue on my end for the computer? I don't know. A few of us have had issues with that. So those of you who are very, very clever, can you please give us some tips? I've seen the general ones about disabling the enhanced voice crap or something, and all of that, but yeah, no such luck. It doesn't help. So that's really it. Right, I'm going to leave you now with all the information where you can find the show. Go to whispersofwar.podbean.com for all the old shows and the show notes. Go to dragonpoweredstudio.com/Discord if you want to join an amazing Discord server. Twitter at whispers_of_war, or my personal one, which is McMonkeys with a Z. Email whispersofwarpodcast@gmail.com. twitch.tv/McMonkeys with 2 Zs. If you want to join an amazing guild on the EU side, Alliance side, go to Argent Dawn and look in the guild finder for a bit like Taliafix. If you just Google or if you just type a bit like, you can find us there. And then my lovely recruitment officer will have a little chat with you to see if you're not a dick, because we don't recruit dicks. And that's really it. Yeah, so I hope to see you all in game and online and on Twitter, and have a lovely week. And again, stay safe and enjoy World of Warcraft. Bye bye.
This show is brought to you by Dragon Powered Studio. Find more at dragonpoweredstudio.com.